Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Visual Lifeguard 8937 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit and says, Am I the arsehole here wanting to break up with my girlfriend after her ex's funeral? So, my girlfriend and I have been together for about 4 years. She used to be close friends with her ex, however, he tried to make a move on her while she and I were together, so she cut off their friendship. They knew each other for about 10 years. They were high school sweethearts and stayed together throughout college. They broke up because he did not want kids. He died recently, and my girlfriend was invited to the funeral. While I wasn't happy, so to speak, to see my girlfriend cry about this guy, I swallowed my emotions and offered my full support. She asked me to come with her. Here's where things get messy. She kept talking about she wishes they never broke up in the first place and that she's never met someone who she loved as much as him. She made a speech about how she says that if things had been different, they'd be a happy family with children. I had to force myself not to say anything then. Now we're back home and she hasn't said anything about what she said. I'm so close to just leaving, but I just don't know if she only said that out of grief. You know, whenever I talk about stories about losing someone, I talk about grief. I always say, grieve in your own way, as long as it's healthy. We all deal with loss in different ways, but this didn't feel like that. She's absolutely fine to be sad about losing him and talking about what a great guy he was. Yes, you may feel uncomfortable from that, but that is acceptable. However, she talked about her potential future life, what could have been with her ex and not OP, which is just so disrespectful that she basically loved him more than you. How embarrassing would that have been? You was invited to this funeral, so you had to sit there whilst I assume everyone knows that you're her boyfriend, and she sort of gushed about him in front of everyone. Being told that you're basically second best, that you're living in this guy's shadow. But next status says not the arsehole. People can say, be understanding, she's dealing with a heavy loss, but that doesn't magically fix the sting of words she said that hurt you. If this was within 6 months of the breakup, maybe I'd be more understanding. However, you've been together for 4 years. They ended due to his desire to not have children, so not only is she hurting you, she's lying about a dead guy by telling everyone the fantasy life she had imagined for them as if it was holy writ. What the fuck? She's more than allowed to feel grief due to their decade-long history. However, she's not allowed to treat you as less than, second, or just good enough. You 100% deserve someone who puts you first always, with very rare exceptions, and this ain't one of them, honey. As I'm sure you've done for her. Hell, you went with her to the funeral of her ex because she asked. You were there for her, and she showed you where you rank in the grand scheme of things. Leave for you. Choose to put yourself first because guess what? She showed you in a room full of people where you rank. You deserve more than this betrayal. Boomer Quest says not the arsehole. It's completely unacceptable for her to say those things to you. She's full on telling you that you're the backup and she cares so little about you that she'd just tell you to your face with no remorse or consideration for your feelings. Insane. OP responded, to be clear, she didn't say these things to me. She was talking to others. Exciting Tabletop replies to that saying, that is worse. I guess she's hurting, but she told everyone that you don't matter to her and were just the backup. It's no longer your problem. Move on to someone that does love you for you. If she was drugged up from a surgery, sure, you might let it slide, but she knew what she was saying. Talk it over with her, but honestly, expect to walk. Another user says it's one thing to think something because you are grieving, it's another to invite your boyfriend to a funeral, then say that thing in front of him and everyone else. At minimum, this is extraordinarily cruel of her, and she should have known better even if she was grieving. How'd you even come back from that? And a final comment from BMiss70 says, not the arsehole. While it's completely understandable she feels intense grief at her ex's passing, it's pretty sad that she just made your 4-year relationship less important to her than a what-if fantasy of her ex that never happened. I'd say break up with her because she just publicly told you and everyone at the funeral that your relationship with her means little to her. If you stay, you'll always be competing and losing to a dead ex. So OP comes in with their first update that says, "Hello everyone. It's been a stressful couple of days and my post got a lot more attention than I expected. It was overwhelming, to be honest. It's been a week since the funeral itself and I've been talking to some friends as well as reading comments on my last post. Truth be told, I've been hesitant to talk about this to my girlfriend because she's still been depressed. She's not talking to me at all and I've been taking care of everything around our place. She's just been laying in our bed. I've tried to talk to her but she just shuts me out. I've been reflecting on our past relationship and realized a couple of things. My girlfriend was never as passionate with me as she was with her ex. She never did anything as romantic or thoughtful for me when compared to her ex. For example, she's never gone traveling for more than 3 days with me, but she traveled often with her ex, sometimes for years. It's not like I haven't offered. I was simply told to get over it and that each relationship is different, and people said shit like, if she wanted to be with her ex, she would be. Something also to note is that some of you actually pointed my attention to another post, one that's about a girl going to her ex's funeral. I read the post and I don't know if it's actually my girlfriend or not. Some details are different, like our age. We're both 30. Also, I never said anything about breaking up with her for going to the funeral. I wasn't exactly happy to see her mourn the guy who wanted to sleep with her while she was with me, but I didn't actually say anything. Now that post admitted that she actually cheated. I thought about this for a second, but it doesn't matter. Because if she cheated or not, I already broke up with her. I did have a talk with her. She refused to at first, but not responding to me. But when I told her I was leaving, she finally said something to me. I basically told her that I feel like crap ever since she said those things at the funeral. How I feel she would rather be with her ex than me. I felt like her second choice. She started to yell at me, calling me selfish, and that she's lost one of the most important people in her life and I shouldn't make this about me. I was too tired to try and yell back. My things were already packed up. I'm staying with my parents for a while. Our lease doesn't expire for a few months. I don't know what she's planning to do. I don't know what to do now. I thought I was going to marry this girl someday and have kids, but she wanted someone else all this time. I appreciate all the comments and I don't know if I'm going to post another update, but thank you. So before we move on to the next update, a couple of comments. Ricky Descardo says, and quotes about the section calling me selfish and says, "Here's the thing. She didn't lose one of the most important people in her life. She made it clear that she lost the most important person in her life." And quotes about how she kept talking about how they never broke up in the first place and says, "I don't know what other conclusion to read from this. I could certainly see feeling sad or down when an ex that you've known for a significant part of your life passes away. But that's not only what occurred. She wishes they never broke up. She never met someone who loved her as much as he did. And if things had been different, they would still be together. In each of those thoughts, you are at best second place. Never includes you. She is with you because they broke up. She doesn't think you can ever love her as much as he did. And if things were different with him, she would not be with you. Is she mourning him and the significance he had in her life? Or is she mourning someone she still loved and mourning the loss of the opportunity to still be with him? You're not selfish and you do not want to be with someone where you will always be a placeholder." So a couple of months later, OP comes in again and says, "I got a lot of support from this subreddit last time and I appreciate it, so I figure I should update you all. It's the day before Valentine's and I'd actually planned something for my girlfriend before this whole mess started. I can't help but to think of her. Our shared friend group didn't side against me, but they've been supportive. Both of us, it seems. I've explained to them why we broke up and they're all pretty understanding. My friend and his girlfriend are friends to both of us and I've asked them about my ex. Apparently she hasn't been doing good. She's back to work. She took like 2 weeks off work, but besides that, she hasn't been out of the apartment. She hasn't tried to reach me and I haven't tried to reach her. Our lease expires next month, so I don't know what she's planning to do. She could afford the rent on her own, but she'd be scraping by. I've been tempted to reach out. I hated breaking up, but I hate even more how we broke up. It feels like I left her behind when she needs me the most. If she reacted like this to anyone else, I'd be there for her, no questions asked. But I know better. I know I'd be resentful because she still wants her ex over me. I wanted to thank everyone for the support last time, and I guess this is just me venting. A lot of people telling OP that they did the right thing and should just continue doing what they're doing, but 6 weeks later, OP updates saying she finally reached out. I came back from work to my folks' place and she was there. My mum let her wait for me. While I'm upset with my mum for letting her in and not giving me a heads up, that's another issue. When I came back, my mum went to the store to give us some privacy. I was a mess inside, but I held it in. She asked how I was and what I've been up to, and we talked as if we were just catching up. I finally asked what exactly she wanted. She said she's sorry for what she did and regrets how things ended between us. She went on to say that she did genuinely love me, and she did want to start a family, but the sudden death of her ex simply hit her too hard. She says she's sorry for what she said and that she didn't mean them. I didn't say anything and was just trying to process what was going on. She didn't actually ask me to get back together. I told her that no matter what she said now, I can't forget what she said at the funeral and how she acted afterwards. She said she understood and just wanted to talk to me. I told her that I don't think we can be friends and that I don't hate her, but I just don't want to be near her. She left and I was left a wreck. She seems to be okay. She looked healthier than the last time I saw her. I'm actually moving out from my folks' place and I'm not going to tell her. I'm going to make sure my parents don't say anything. I hope that was the last time I see her, at least for a long while. Oh, and one quick thing I wanted to mention. My name is off the lease at our old place. The landlady was very understanding. I figured I should mention that because a lot of you told me about that. And Big Bye said on the back of that one, your ex-girlfriend is still lying to herself. In her mind, she didn't do anything that wrong. She's already moving on. She came back to tell you she decided it was one of those wacky things. That's all you ever get for closure with people like her. It's best to delete all pictures of her, give away everything she ever gave you. Don't ever use her name, just refer to her as my ex. She lied to you because she was lying to herself. She always held out a little hope that he'd grow up and get his shit together. When he did, they could finally be together. When he died, that hope ended. That's why she's just walking away now. You were always her, Mr. Right Now. And I'm not sure I felt exactly the same way as that comment afterwards. I just kind of felt like this is the best possible thing in this situation, that they both just move on their separate ways. I don't think OP was ever going to come back and, be able to have a relationship with her, knowing where his position would be. She came back, apologized, explained how she was feeling in that particular moment. And look, OP doesn't have to forgive it. They haven't. They didn't even have to listen if they didn't want to. OP said that I don't think we can be friends and that he doesn't hate her and that's that. They're just going their separate ways now, which, like I said, I think is the best, potentially one of the best outcomes in this particular situation. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from Efficient Wedding 80 from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit that says, am I the arsehole for not telling my dad I got rejected by college on the day the result came out? I, 16 male, am a senior in high school and applying to colleges. I applied to 8 colleges and got 3 rejections, 2 of which I thought I'd get in. The other 5 are much harder, and I already know it's pretty much certain I'll be rejected from 2 of them. My dad, my mum passed away, so he raised me, is really disappointed with my results. He's so disappointed that he went to school to talk to my counselor and called me lazy in front of him. And my friends are getting into good colleges, which makes my dad even more mad at me. I thought my stats were enough to get into college, ranked 3rd in class, 1,580 SAT, took 4 AP exams and got 5s on all. Captain of the sports team I play for, founded a volunteer project that raised 30k and other stuff. Since I know my dad is really mad at me, this week the result of another college I thought I'd get into came out and I got rejected. I didn't tell my dad right away because I didn't have the courage. I didn't want to see him even sadder with me. I waited for the best time to tell him, but when I did, he didn't find out from someone else. He wasn't too happy that I took so long to tell him. Also, this week my best friend since I was 8 got a likely letter from Harvard, meaning he'll probably get in. We're both only children. He's like a brother to me and I can't imagine my life without our friendship. I was so happy and we're supposed to spend today together to celebrate, but my dad banned me from leaving the house and using the car. He said it's because of my behavior of not trusting him by not immediately telling him about the application result and for me to reflect on what I did throughout all the years in school and getting these results. So on the happiest day of my best friend's life, who grew up with me, who's like a brother, whose parents always took care of me as if I were their son, my dad is prohibiting me from being with him. Was I such an arsehole for not telling him immediately? I think my dad overreacted. Edit. Dad is a high achiever, has a PhD from a top school and is very smart. My mum died when I was 3 years old, so my dad raised me alone. I always find stories like this just incredibly sad. 16 years old. Man, when I was 16, I didn't know what I was doing. So you sound like an absolutely amazing person that's achieving amazing things at your age. I can't even comprehend what you were achieving. I didn't understand a lot of those results. But you sound like an amazing son that anyone should be proud of. I'm telling you now, he should be turning around to you no matter what happens with your college and saying, I am incredibly proud of you, regardless of where you go. And he should be reflecting on, in my opinion, on his behavior. He's the one that's caused this distrust to the point where you were too nervous to tell him about that. That is just heartbreaking. I couldn't imagine, your hypothetical child not wanting to come up to you and share these details with you because they're too nervous to tell you, because you're going to put them down, shout at them because of these results. And I just find that heartbreaking for you. But Tofu Born says, not the arsehole. You're not an application machine. You're a human with impressive stats who hit a bump on the college road. Not blasting bad news the second it arrives doesn't make you the bad guy, especially when dealing with rejection isn't as easy as pie. Dad's reaction? Overkill. Grounding you for not being a speed post messenger and missing out on BFF's big day. That's not a lesson. That's a punishment looking for a crime. Time for Dad to switch from Disappointment Express to Support Central. Remember, even superheroes need a moment to regroup after a setback. OP says, what pisses me off the most is not being able to hang out with my best friend. He said he was going to bring his folks over to talk to my dad, but I think that's just going to make things worse. My dad's doing it on purpose because he knows nothing would piss me off more than missing out on this day with my friend. So I felt Dizzy says, I feel like your dad should go to his room and reflect on how he arrived at this point where his exceptional son, who achieved 99th percentile scores, cannot trust him not to overreact to less than perfect news. Full disclosure though, the way he's talking to you reminds me of how I was treated by some teachers for having ADHD. I feel really cross about what he has done. And Little Panda says, yeah, I mean, short of something like bad media attention, OP's stats were all good. OP is kind of proving he's right about his dad's reaction. Does the dad not realize that Harvard denies plenty of valedictorians and people with perfect SAT scores every year? College isn't just to be valedictorian / get perfect SAT scores and get instant college acceptance, especially now. I went to a decent state school and I'm pretty sure I'd have been rejected if I applied a few years ago instead of decades ago. But OP comes in with her update and says, first of all, I wanted to thank you all for the support I received from you. You guys were really cool and made me feel calmer at the time when I was very sad. Yesterday, my dad came into my room for the first time in my life and he apologized to me. He said he loves me very much regardless of any outcome and that his behavior in recent times has not been right. He hugged me and said I was the most important thing in the world to him. I think my dad did this also because today the MIT results were coming out, which is one of the colleges I applied to as a reach. And I got in. Damn it, I got into MIT. I opened the results and it was just me and my dad here in front of the laptop. It was the most exciting feeling of my life. We hugged and cried. I'm going to study at MIT. A couple of comments after that. Inappropriate access. Woo, congrats. And good for your dad. It can be hard for a parent to apologize to their kid, and it's wonderful that he was able to. Enjoy MIT. The Sky Elf says, I don't think a lot of parents realize how important those honest apologies are. I'm glad OP's father could. Savan says, I remember clearly my dad sitting down when I was maybe 10 and apologizing for smacking me when I was younger, that he'd got it completely wrong. That was 35 years ago. And he's been gone for 6 years, and that conversation is still intensely important to me. And I agree that, apologies is definitely a step in the right direction,
Part of me was thinking though, what if opening that letter was a negative result? I'm not trying to put a downer on things at all, but what if it was a negative result? How would the dad have acted then? You know, he's happy now because Opie's going to MIT, but I hope that it was really a turning point. Dad does truly reflect on the way that he's treated his son. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.